Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lives podcast. This is Brian, joined by my co-host Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community for the men of the world to share their thoughts and perspectives on marriage. We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. Now, let's get right into this episode. Today, we'd like to talk to you about who relaxed first. And when we get into it, we'll explain what that means. But Paul wants to say something to you real quick.
Before we hop into the episode, we just encourage you to lean into our community on our socials. Just hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. If you have any questions about episodes, also go to our site, marriagestougher.com, if you want to be a guest. Or if you have any questions or anything, there's a form at the bottom of the website along with all of our archived episodes. So any questions you have, you can reach out to Instagram. We'll get right back to you. And you can just search us on any socials, searching Marriage is Tougher. But yeah, let's get into this episode.
Yeah. So who relaxed first? The idea behind this episode is I was, surfing the web, flipping through
As one does.
Flipping through some videos. And I came across one where they were making fun of how a relationship develops, right? When you're real young or just real young in your relationship, you're always trying to impress each other. You're always dressed to the T, right? And then, year one, you might relax a little bit. You get married and, you start only dressing up for the people outside of your marriage more often than not, right? And then by year three, you're just rocking sweats at home. Like it's just what life is now. So my thought was, who in your relationship initiates that, right? Who is the one who relaxes so much and just makes it the new standard for life that now everybody's relaxing? It's like we're here now. This is what it is. All of me.
Right. This is me unfiltered now.
There you go.
Oh man, I know we joke and we laugh about it, but it is an interesting thought, right? So everyone out here listening, like, think about that. Who relaxed first? But to me, as we were talking about it, it's like, man, it's like, who felt most comfortable first or most vulnerable first,
right?
Enough to take off the facade and let the outward things not matter as much. They still do matter. Let's be clear. Like, I love when my wife gets together and she's so beautiful, and I'm like, yes, ma'am, that's right. But at the same time, like, that's not the most important. And there are other things about her that still have me going, yes, ma'am, right, about her personality and how she handles things. So, but yeah, it's thinking about who was most comfortable first to say, all right, maybe I don't have to have it all together all the time when I'm around this person.
Yeah, man, you bring up a good point. I was telling you how we went to that comedy show last night, right? And it was outdoor at our local ball field. And, the weather held up pretty well, but we did get rained on a little bit, right? And we're in the field seats, so we're just exposed, right? And, I look over to my wife and I noticed that, like, because of the rain, her hair started to relax a little bit. But, it's funny because, like, she's still hella attractive to me. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It kind of begs the question, do you really need to be, dressed to the T, dolled up all the time in order to have a successful marriage, right? Like it's something, it's like the peacocking portion of relationship, right? I would say doesn't stand the test of time because it's just not that important when you get down to it.
Yeah, it really is. And once you just thinking about, I know that clip had to be funny, right? Just thinking about the different levels of that outward appearance thing, right? First it's like, man, I'm going to be attractive. I'm going to be set up for this person. Like I love, obviously I'm for the world, when I step outside, I look a certain way, but like when I'm going to see this person, like I'm having all together. But then as you grow your relationship and move on to marriage, it's like, okay, like that's not as important as the other things. Like the other things we're tackling gets more energy and more thought as we're trying to capture the world together and take on our space and win in our marriage.
Yeah.
So I think you only have a certain amount of bandwidth to keep that up, because that takes effort, you
Right.
know, to look a certain way and to be together, um, or have it appear like you have it all together on the outside takes a lot of work.
Right.
Um, and when you're working on other more important things, um, you might not have the capacity to put all that in. And hopefully it just becomes a rhythm that you don't have to think about. So you just look great all the time.
Yeah. Or what I'm thinking is if you are choosing to look great all the time, think about the time you're sacrificing to be great at the things that you're trying to accomplish because you're trying to look a certain way before you get to the goal that you're striving for. Just little note for y'all to simmer on a little bit, you know.
Right. I was just going to let that sit right there for a little bit.
But
That's
hey man, I
interesting.
wanted to kind of circle back. You made a very good point. The point about vulnerability, right? If we're talking about, we're relaxing, we're getting comfortable, and we're making that the standard of our relationship, right? We're thinking about vulnerability and making that the new standard of our relationship. That provides a lot of time for growth. So this relaxing and getting comfortable and showing that you're vulnerable, even though a lot of us fight it, self-admittedly, hand raised.
Same.
If you're open to it, that provides a lot of opportunity for growth within your relationship.
Yeah. And so you would think, right, if we're sticking to the theme of relaxing and the outer appearance, and you would think that there is a lack happening there,
Hmm.
right? You would think outwardly, if we're looking at that, like, man, like they don't dress the same, or we don't dress the same. We don't, do all that stuff anymore. But when you change what is valuable to you, and that it's not that it's not important, it's just time spent and energy is now being put into something that is lasting,
Hmm.
because clothes, deteriorate, you know, our skin, gets wrinkles,
Hey,
things
slow
don't
down.
always
Slow down.
things don't always sit up where they're supposed to.
Hmm.
Um, and that's going to go away. But the foundation of what you're looking to build and that intimacy you're looking to have and the vulnerability that leads to those intimate moments is worth more than the time spent on looking your best all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just thinking about the difference in, I'll say, the ease of access to intimacy between whether you're dressed relaxed or dressed like you just went out. If you
Tell me
feel me.
more.
All right. So what I'm just thinking is just a funny thought, but if you and your wife are intending to be intimate, right? It's it's easier to get to that space when you're in your relaxed clothes. Things come off easier is what I'm trying to tell you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know. And I mean, I don't know who you are out there, right? But there are a lot of times where I'm very much, if not more, sometimes attracted to my wife in a moment just because the relaxed clothes get me thinking sometimes. Like, hey.
Listen, true story. Yeah, I mean, there's just there's a comfortability that comes from vulnerability and emotional intimacy, right? That sparks things, right? Because sometimes I just look at my wife and I'm just like, man, like I just start thinking about how awesome she is, and it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what she's wearing at that
Right,
point. Like,
right, right, right.
and I know all things don't lead to that, but it's just very attractive, right? All things don't lead to sexual intimacy, but it's very attractive when you have put in that time to be vulnerable and put in that time to grow and learn and to be emotionally intimate and just aware and open to each other.
Mhm.
And that time has to come from somewhere. So if you're not spending time trying to look all together or appear to have it all together or work to have it all outwardly together, then that
Yeah,
internal space that you guys have with just you grows because you're putting time in to grow that space.
yeah, yeah. And I got to say, the time that my wife and I have been putting in with our therapist has been very beneficial in more ways than one. And it's funny because we had a discussion not so long ago where uh, we were just talking about how we've been a lot more active, and I feel like our progress through therapy has a lot to do with that. Just getting stuff off our chest, working through issues a lot faster now. Having deeper, more meaningful conversations. Um, being more prepared for the things that are coming our way. It's, I mean, it's funny. We're still going through it, right? But knowing where we are to knowing, or where we were to where we are and where we could and will be, right? I can see how we are just starting to connect more, right? And there's still difficult times for us because as we're, getting used to this and, pieces of it still feel awkward, right? Especially that check-in, that weekly check-in that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Parts of that still seem awkward because, it depends on what's going on throughout the day. But then, a lot of times we'll sit down and just get ready to relax. And the next thing you know, we're like, oh, wait, we're supposed to do a check in. Right. And then we got to start that conversation somewhere. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, well, where do we start it? Well, what do we want to talk about? And then, we might circle back and try to check all the boxes, but we're working on making it more of just a fluid conversation for us. We're getting there. But like I said, in this space we're in right now, it's still a little bit awkward, but we also both realize like this is something that we're working through. So it's, you know, just a season.
No, that's amazing. And as you were saying that, it was almost like if we're talking about the clothing or like the outward appearance analogy, right? Like,
Mhm.
but what you were doing is actually like removing layers of clothing, right, or switching out layers of clothing for the the more relaxed fit, right? So we're old enough to understand when like the things changed where like you went from leggings were strictly like workout to now it's like an everyday thing. And now joggers are like you have relaxed joggers and you have joggers you can now wear to work, right? Khaki joggers. Like there's a whole realm of now comfortability clothes basically to get out the house, right?
Facts.
But if I was just thinking like, if you had just thinking about you're saying like different layers you're taking off, like thinking about wearing like a full suit and tie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're taking off the suit and tie, taking off the tie, taking off the jacket, unbuttoning the cufflinks, taking the belt off, all like that. And then, you're now putting on, let's say, jeans, right? Jeans and maybe like a nice shirt, right? A button down, right? Then as you keep going, now you're like, okay, taking off the button down, throwing on a t-shirt, putting on some joggers, right? And as you do that, you're getting more comfortable, more and more comfortable in your look, but you're also just more and more comfortable, period.
Right. Right.
Right? Like if something pops off, right, and you're in your joggers, you're ready to run, right? And that's you can still run in that suit. But, suit and dress shoes is different than sneakers and joggers,
Yeah.
right? So
Although
like,
they're combining those now too.
yes, they are. Thank God for that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, in essence, even saying that, there's a balance, right? Of
Right.
like those things that you hold dear, but those things that you need to let go to be more vulnerable and to be more relaxed with your partner. It's important.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, this has happened in the workplace as well, right? It used to be like suit, jacket, tie every day, maybe even a vest.
Hmm.
And then, we're in like business casual life, and the industry I work in, business casual for us is, well, we might still have to go in the field. So a lot of us are still wearing, safety toe boots and whatnot. So we're wearing jeans and maybe a polo if you're in management, or a t-shirt, or, we're throwing on safety vests and whatnot. But
Hmm.
I think this is where the world wants to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that, in essence, is where we want to be in our relationship, right?
Right.
In a relaxed space where we're comfortable. Like you said, you're working toward in that specific scenario of the check-in, and one day it's not going to be a check-in; it's just going to be full conversation. And that, in essence, is the sweats, right? That's the sweats and the leggings, right? Like
Yeah.
that's where we want to be, where it's just we're super comfortable in our conversation and our communication and where we are as a couple. Not that we're not working, but there's no time spent on a facade
Right.
because we're fully bare to each other to talk about all the things and fully, emotionally available.
Yeah. I'm excited to get there, man. I mean, because our check-ins are, I would say, very rarely tense, right? We don't typically talk about items that are like a struggle within our marriage. Um, but I think that's because we've been doing so much work that those things are largely settled by the time we get to our check-in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's growth for us.
Yeah.
And then behind that as well, um, I don't know, the check-ins, like that growth area of just trying to make it a casual conversation, but it's still like a plan. We're
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure that out, I guess.
Yeah.
You
And
know what
it's,
I'm
I
trying to
mean,
say?
yeah, you'll definitely get there, but it's also like, the first time. So think about this, right? The first time you ever made Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Mhm.
Like it's different than where you do it now.
Facts.
You still have a plan on
Yeah.
how it's done, but you've done it so many times. Like, one, it's all going to work out fine.
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay. But two, like you've gotten into the rhythm of kind of what works, what doesn't, when you want to do new things, how much time you need to allot for that, because you have the staples of what you normally do,
Mhm.
that type of stuff. So it will come just with time. So that's an amazing thing. It's really just keep doing it as you're doing it, and you'll get there before you know it. You'll be like, oh, did we just have the check in? Like, did we just do the check in? Like, all right, I guess we did. All right, let's watch this. Let's watch this YouTube clip.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm just thinking about where it's going to lead our relationship. I'm excited to get to the point where it's so natural for us that we're now checking in daily or multiple times a day, right? And I think I've mildly started the process of that where, I'm calling more often during the week and just saying, hey, this happened, right? Because there's a lot of times that, something will happen at work or whatever. And I'm like, I got to tell somebody. I can't tell anybody at work. Right.
Right. Right.
And I'm not trying to bother you because I know you're working as well. But
Mhm.
if my wife is home, I'm just trying to share and keep her up to date. And I don't always want to wait until I walk back through the door.
Right. That's great.
So it's becoming an expectation for our marriage. But yeah, man, I think this was a good talk. We're up on time, but uh, anything else you want to bring up? I think I'm good.
No, I think it was a good conversation. Just again, if you want to continue this conversation or have any thoughts on clothing and or being relaxed or who was relaxed first, just hit us up on Instagram, searching Marriage is Tough. Marriage is Tougher. You can also reach out on Facebook and YouTube with the same thing, and hit our website if you want to be a guest, fill out the form, or if you want to have any episodes. If you want to see our lovely faces, check us out on YouTube. If all you want to do is hear us, search Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, anywhere you get your podcasts. But until next time, we'll talk to you later.